keep forgetting. A little clearer right now. Me and Smokestack taking a nice little walk in this fall weather. Bit chilly outside. That everybody is gearing up for the holidays, and that's really what I want to talk about. So, went out yesterday to go get my big Thanksgiving meal. Now, it's not extravagant, not having a ton of people over, nothing like that. Basically, just enough for me and the nieces, plate for my sister, and maybe the baby if she'd want it. But the baby, you know, it's not down on a bunch of turkey, folks. Let's be real about it. But I went to Aldi, and I know that Aldi traditionally has been pretty big in the UK. Every time I see like European television, or I've seen like Patty Pimblett talk about it, it was basically a place that I didn't use until much later, when I realized not only was the cost cheaper, but it had a lot of better produce than some of the more mainline stores. But I was there yesterday, and literally everything, at least the vast majority of things, had gone up between 10 and 25%. From the crappy bag of chips that I begrudgingly buy, to the nuts. I'm nuts about nuts, folks. I love me some nuts. My mixed nuts were up. Beef has already exploded. We've talked about that. And actually, they didn't have any turkeys, so I had to actually go somewhere else for a turkey. Now, it's not just food. There are so many things that I'm watching, especially being in the technology arena, that traditionally would be lowered. And what do I mean by that? So traditionally, memory, aka RAM, and storage space has gotten cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. But that is just not the case anymore, okay? For instance, I'll just give you one little technology bite. When you look at video game systems, there has never been a time in history where a video game system launched and then 5 years later went up in price at all, let alone significantly. And both the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox started in at about $499, the Series X. And that was launched during the COVID-19 84 nightmare, so it was very hard to get them for a couple years, and yes, people sold them for an exorbitant amount. But after about 2 years, both PlayStations and Xboxes were down to retail. You could get them anywhere. They were even cheaper. On the used market, they leveled out, okay? Now, Black Friday, like PlayStation's running an ad where essentially you're getting the PlayStation at MSRP from 2 years ago because they launched another $100. And the Xbox is no longer $500, it's $650. A hard drive, an SSD, 2 terabyte hard drive that I got for $60, same exact one, 2-3 years ago. That's $120 now. It's not any different. It's not better. It's the same exact thing. And it has doubled in price in 2 to 3 years. Another example, these handhelds, these handheld PCs that I'm seeing, they started at one price and they've only gone up. Traditionally, technology comes down. This is very worrisome to me, especially being in the technology arena. Let's see. Says YouTube featured under your title. Hopefully that's a good sign, brother. That would be weird that YouTube was featuring this video and not the one I literally just did on digital IDs. Again, we like the walk and talks. We like people seeing that, the smokestack gets to do his business here out on the trails. All right? But if that's the one that they're featuring, who knows? I don't know if that's a great sign. I guess it's relatable. I mean, a lot of people out there, like myself, and thank you, Flick, for continuing to support the broadcast. It's a tough holiday season, man. Like, you know, the kids want the normal, like, I'm going to buy, you know, a new iPhone. And I'm not talking a $1,000 iPhone or a $1,500 iPhone. I'm talking about something that is either refurbished or open box. And, you know, I think the 17 is out now. We're not getting a model more than the 14. I can guarantee you that. But still, it's like $300+. Then, you know, maybe some other gifts. I mean, I don't know that I have the grand this year to just spend on the holidays. And Black Friday is kind of a joke. It's not that I've done a lot of Black Friday shopping, but think about that loop, right? Prior to COVID 1984, things were a little bit out of control. I will admit that. They had moved Black Friday essentially to Thanksgiving, and like Thanksgiving right at prime dinner or hangout time for families. And people were rightfully pissed, but you know, the corporate entities all had to battle each other. So they all start doing that. Then COVID comes around, and they already don't want you anywhere near each other or outside. So they start giving you like these online deals, right? And they kind of started that a little bit during that time period. But the online deals themselves almost never were like real deal Black Friday clearance bargain bin deals. And now, you know, you have kind of this return to Black Friday. They're no longer with the Thanksgiving thing. I think that's a good thing. But the deals suck, right? Like, again, all these things should be getting cheaper. And even the deals barely feel like a sale in most cases. So, you know, I wonder what the holiday season is going to be like for a lot of people. Because, you know, one of the things Marjorie Taylor Greene got right in that farewell speech is that things are not changing for the better for the common American. And that's just true. You know, the common American, you know, isn't doing so well that they're talking about 50-year slavery mortgages. 50-year slavery mortgages. Like, again, props to MTG for saying that in her farewell speech. God love her. You know, just because we're talking a little Marjorie Taylor Greene, I do want to say this because I saw it posted yesterday, and I had not seen this video, but real video, and it was her talking, you know, a bunch of Johnny nonsense earlier on about the legitimacy of Q and how we were all going to wake up and we were going to be saved and blah, 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 blah. Hey, people get things wrong. And not only that, it kind of showed me, I guess, how far she had gone, at least initially, to believe in superheroes in government, which, unfortunately, there are very few just decent people within government, especially when we start getting into the congressional, the Senate, the governorship levels. I mean, again, Massey, probably the best thing since breakfast in that arena, and you've got Trump just continually attacking him as the worst congressman ever. It's funny, you know, I often talk about possibly entering the political arena. A friend of mine contacted me, and she's big on the cannabis issue, and Rand Paul, another, you know, gem when it comes to people in government, is one of the only people that's been discussing this budget that covertly passed a piece of legislation within it that would basically cripple the hemp industry. Now, whether or not this goes into fruition, if it is used via selective enforcement or not, she is certainly concerned and wants to raise awareness to the issue, where she wants to run for governor of Iowa. Now, the thing about Iowa is we already have a ban on cannabis. right? I don't even know if it's legal here for medical. It may be, but I'm not 100% sure. I know that the people did try to get it legalized here, and basically it got all the way to the governor's desk. And look, I think that she was better than most on the COVID stuff, etc. Certainly not perfect, but really dropped the ball via that issue, and basically saying no, 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 no cannabis for you. And it's too bad because, number one, I think that Iowa, especially being the fertile land that it is, and I think that's one of the reasons that she didn't want to do it. She didn't want to see a transition from so many of these corn and soybean farmers into cannabis. You would definitely see that. But man, with the low minimum wage and the minimal amount of regulation surrounding many things here, including even my DMV trips compared to others, it's not even ballpark. Like when I compare to a state like this to something like New York, night and day, night and day. And that's why there are real differences in locations. Hell, if you just caught my broadcast, which I'm assuming many of you did not, I was just talking about the digital ID and how right over the bridge now, Illinois is one of the first people to adopt, yes, a digital ID where your license becomes part of your Apple Wallet. But far from the last. We named a slew of other states that are also going to try to implement this. Arkansas and I believe it was Virginia, the latest among them, but we read Oklahoma, Kentucky, and others. We better push back on this. We better push back. Let's see what we got here. To quote the great David Icke, they go into the system thinking they can change it, but the system changes them. You know, some of them. I think some of them, listen, I think there are idealists there, and I think there's a lot to agree with there. But with somebody like Ron Paul, especially, I don't know that Ron Paul ever changed. You know, Ron Paul remained consistent throughout his time in government and beyond, right? And he became a force to be reckoned with and still is. Like Ron Paul, you know, still has the Ron Paul Institute, still out there in his 90s talking about current events, still not making it about partisan politics, still exposing the Federal Reserve, etc. So I'm not saying that that doesn't happen, but I also think that a lot of these people, they don't give a rat's ass one way or another. They really are out, not only for self-preservation, right? They're there to fill the coffers. They're there to be part of the power structure, to bend the knee to these agendas. Like somebody like Pritzker, right? Pritzker doesn't need to be the governor of Illinois. He's got plenty of money, right? He's got more money, and probably that family makes more moves that way. But being the governor of Illinois in a central hub in the Midwest via one of the largest cities in the country, and like the pinnacle of a large city here in the Midwest, is a huge thing. It's a huge thing because you get to set policies that are globalist in nature and, unfortunately detrimental to our Constitution and our Bill of Rights. And I know I started with, holiday hell and Black Friday, but I look at the other side, okay? And I would encourage people to go check this out. I think like within the last month, this guy did a whole video on Rock Island. Now, Rock Island is part of the Quad Cities where I live. It's Rock Island, Moline, Davenport, and Bettendorf. And you can say what you want about Davenport. I think it's a quaint little city. It has, some problems. But you go to the other side. You go to that Illinois side where Pritzker's the governor, okay? And I'm not talking about more rural Illinois or places like Erie. And believe me, there's a lot of rural Illinois, just like there's a lot of rural upstate New York that people aren't aware of. But you watch that video of this guy going through Rock Island. No bueno. Not a lot going on over there. All right? And a lot of that has to do with the policies via business, taxation, the adherence to the quote-unquote welfare state, the nanny state. And they're paying the price for it. You know, why would people want to live on that side of the bridge when they're going to be paying more into the system? And if they are, you know, working class, they're going to be getting less back from the system, and then they're going to be under more authoritative rule. Doesn't sound like a good deal. Doesn't sound like a good time. By the way, we got 50 people watching. Can we get 50 thumbs up for me and the smokestack? Me and the smoky. Guess I'll tell you guys what we got going on today. We are going to do a couple more videos. We're going to be doing one later on mind control and this research paper / book from these guys from Bradford University. A little bit of the European press, The Guardian, the Daily Mail. They've picked up on it, have not seen it really picked up on in the United States. And I'm really tempted to do a longer watch along with a presentation that those guys did for about an hour 2+ years ago, because their presentation only has like 118 views. Now, you know, we'll be lucky if we get, you know, a few more thousand views with this audience, but it'll be a few thousand deserved views on a topic that I don't think most people take seriously enough or are aware of the types of technologies, treaties, white papers are out there in that arena when we're talking about quote-unquote mind control. So that's a definite video going down later today. And then on top of that, we are going to do a watch along like we did yesterday with another banned YouTube video. For those that don't know, over the weekend we literally had to manually review over 2,000 videos, and I was saying about 90% of them got remonetized. It's a little less than that. It looks like at the end of the day, after all copyright claims, and I still have a bunch of those to do, there's a little less than 50 videos that were removed altogether from YouTube. There's a little over 2,000 videos that are now monetized out of like the 3,100 plus, might even be 3,200 on the entire channel. But I will say this, almost everything Epstein related gets demonetized, just like yesterday's video did eventually get demonetized, and basically goes to limited or no ads. And beyond that, you know, if you thought Epstein was my bread and butter, all my 9/11 stuff is age restricted to 18 and over. Literally, you have to sign in as an adult to watch things like Fabled Enemies on my channel, to watch things like the Barry Jennings interview, to watch the Anthony Saltalamacchia interview that a lot of people aren't even aware of. A lot of people talk about Barry Jennings, or they talk about Willie Rodriguez when it comes to secondary explosions in not only World Trade Center 1 and 2, the Willie Rodriguez stuff, but then 7 via Barry Jennings and Michael Hess. Okay? Can YouTube be sued for First Amendment infringement? I think it was, obviously. I think that's why we're at where we are at, because remember, there was that ruling just before I was remonetized and before I tried to get remonetized, that essentially, you know, they were going to have to reinstate people. I'm sure there were a bunch of NDAs. I'm sure somebody got some money. You know, I had talked about it for years, but clearly my content was never harmful. And as proven yesterday, as we aired an entire banned YouTube clip from December of 2021, one that was taken down literally in real time, after they took my channel. We played the whole thing yesterday. It didn't get taken down. And I didn't get a strike. And I'm going to say that 90+% of the videos that they did that to, we're going to be able to do that with. Okay? So, look, I think that we're going to wrap this one up. Obviously, me and Smokey, we got a little ways to go. You just watched us travel about a mile, a little bit more than a mile. It's a 2-mile walk. And I would encourage everybody out there. It sucks there's no sunshine, no vitamin D to get right now. But let me tell you right now, fresh air, nature, exercise, it is extremely good for the soul. And yes, TJ, I miss Karma as well. I miss Karma all the time. What a great dog she was. She's like one of the best dogs ever. So, you know, get out there. Even if it's a little nippy. Look, it's a little cold. I get it. That's fine. Get out there. And by the way, if you don't have a pet and you have the means, if you have a means for a dog, and you're sitting there, maybe you're a little depressed, maybe you're a little bit lonely, you're living alone, you don't have the daily regimen you should. Yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's going to get you off your harness. It's going to give you companionship. The dog, you know, if you're good to it, is going to love it. And I can't say enough about, you know, American Staffordshire Terriers, aka pit bulls, that get a bad rap. There's so many pit bulls that really just want to be loved, want to be affectionate, want to be part of the family, and can become part of that family. So consider it. Maybe that's the holiday gift to yourself, is that you grab yourself a Smoke of the Dog. Guys, as always, it's not about left or right. It is always about right and wrong. Please consider supporting the broadcast via the links down below, via the Buy Me a Coffee. We really need you now more than ever. The PayPal, really, I couldn't thank you more if you decided to give via that as well. I love you, and I will see you all on the flip side.